Hey everybody, welcome back. Craig Schaub here with George Thomas, our film critic from the Akron Beacon Journal. George is here. We're a little bit late on this because we had some issues last week where we weren't able to record, but we are going to talk Oscars. But perhaps one of the bigger releases here of the spring season, Project Hail Mary. George, how are you doing?
I am well, I think.
That's good. Well, and I think you've also seen a very good movie as well to here to start the year off. Tell us about Project Hail Mary.
I wrote in my review that it's probably the first great film of the year. Hoppers was pretty damn close for me, so we'll stick with that. But it's that good, and it's like it's in a Sinners type situation. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Excuse me, where it's releasing early, and you wonder if it's going to be remembered next year. You and I both appreciate Ryan Gosling, and one thing I don't remember either of us ever saying when we mention great actors of a generation, is Ryan Gosling, and he's at the top of his game here, and he's certainly worthy of being mentioned with the likes of DiCaprio and others of the past 20 to 25 years. He shows that here. It's basically, based on a novel from the guy who wrote The Martian, and the author's name escapes me.
Andy Weir.
Andy Weir. There we go. Thank you. And I love The Martian. And this is a guy who likes to write his stuff grounded in reality.
Right.
And, let me state that, it just seems like this is grounded in reality, because what nobody who does movies and televisions, or I shouldn't say nobody, but a lot of filmmakers never like to admit, is that no one can hear an engine or an explosion in a vacuum.
Right.
Space is a vacuum. And so the minute the spaceship Hail Mary, as it's called, is on screen in this film, and there's no noise from it, I'm like, okay, game on. Now, should have been that from the presence of Ryan Gosling, but I tend to like sci-fi that's grounded in reality. He stars as a high school teacher, science teacher. What's Andy Weir got for science teachers?
Right.
What's that particular bugaboo? Because was it Matt Damon?
Yeah.
Matt Damon's character in The Martian was a teacher or a professor or something of that sort. And Gosling plays a science teacher who is an expert in biochemistry or molecular biology. Now, the Earth is dealing with a situation where there's this particular band of light basically sucking the life out of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And the muckety-mucks powers that be, the leading minds in the world can't figure out what it is. Now, Gosling's character has been drummed out of the field because he put out a radical theory that people laughed about. That's fine. Guess who they're coming to for help? Because he thinks outside of the box. And them coming to him turns out to be the right move because he figures out what the problem is. They enlist his aid to train a crew to go to a planet that doesn't have this problem for some explicable reason, to learn why that planet isn't going through what Earth and every other solar system in our galaxy is going through. They developed the technology to do sublight speed. Figure that out. He gets to the planet, discovers that the rest of the crew is dead, and he's the only one. Now, he's got to deal with, having been in cryogenic freeze, deal with slowly getting his memories back and all this, and realizing why he's there. In the meantime, there's another ship in the vicinity, and that ship starts making contact with him. Now, the alien being, and I shouldn't call him, call him alien, the creature. I don't want to call him creature. The sentient being there eventually makes contact. And, do you ever see the movie Enemy Mine?
No.
Louis Gossett and Dennis Quaid. Great sci-fi classic at any rate from the 80s. So it's before your time.
I'm an 80s person, mid 80s.
Yeah, how old are you again?
I'm 41.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. No, you may have been a fetus when Enemy Mine came out.
Yeah.
Look it up if you get a chance. At any rate, they make contact and they learn one another's language. They learn to talk to one another. That being turns out to be an engineer, and Gosling's character is a molecular biologist. They work together, figure out the problem, and actually, oddly enough, how they figure out the problem is interesting, but it's the relationship that grows between the two that makes this movie. And the being is a rock-like creature that he obviously names Rocky. Makes sense to me. They learn each other's language. They go through all this stuff again. Just great drama. Don't want to give away anything, even though the movie's been out for more than a week. Great drama. Gosling gives another tremendous performance. The direction is on point from Lord and Miller.
Yeah.
And, it's really enjoyable. It's 2 hours and 36 minutes, but it's worth every second of that runtime. I don't know how they could have cut anything without cutting out something significant. Highly recommended. I gave it an A-, and there we go.
This seems like it's in the same vein as The Martian with Andy Weir's novel, but it kind of seems like this is like right in the wheelhouse of Lord and Miller, who haven't directed since 22 Jump Street and the Lego Movie. Now they've been producing a lot, the Spider-Verse movies they've been behind on, but you think about tonally what the Jump Street movies were, what the Lego Movie was,
quirky stuff.
And this is kind of right up their alley, because The Martian, even though Ridley Scott directed it, you wouldn't expect Ridley Scott to have sort of a quirky sensibility with that story, but he played it perfectly with Matt Damon, of course. But yeah, it seems like this is just a match made in heaven with Gosling's abilities, Lord and Miller kind of tonally understanding maybe the material and then putting it on screen where it's more than just a snarky sarcastic kind of tone, but it's real drama. And of course, there's a lot of talk about they didn't use green screen, blue screen stuff. They wanted to kind of make the movie, and it's paid off. I mean, it made a lot of money. I think the second highest non-IP franchise opening since Oppenheimer, and it's going to have a lot of legs. And I haven't had a chance to see it because I want to see it in 70 millimeter, but all the 70 millimeters good seats are already taken up all the time. So it's hard to. Look, if you're only going to have like 13 screens that can literally play that movie, and one of them is like 45 minutes away from your home, you got to go to it. You've got to see it at least in IMAX, but definitely in 70 millimeter if you have a chance.
I saw it in the Great Lakes Science Center.
Right.
I don't know if they did it in IMAX or not, but that was kind of neat. Saw it in the dome there. That theater is a dome, so that was pretty cool. So I appreciate what you do in that regard, but
definitely
poked a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely worth seeing in the largest format.
Yeah, and I think and I'm not trying to poke at anything, but this is a good success for Gosling too, because obviously Barbie made $1 bazillion, but The Fall Guy, which you and I both enjoyed a couple of years ago, really did not make money. And you kind of started to wonder, is Gosling a box office success? Can he carry a film? And here he does with something that's not based, I know he's got Star Wars coming out next year, but, here he's able to do something that's non-IP, non-sequel, and make it his own. And it's paid off in spades for everybody involved in this movie.
See, and one thing I noted this in my review, that guy has got incredible range.
Yeah.
I mean, it's eerie because Barbie was a comedy.
Yep.
Fall Guy is action, basically, with some comedic elements. And then you have
Mhm.
this where, he can show his dramatic chops, but there's also plenty of humor there. And it just
Right.
seems so natural. And I just don't think movie fans have given him enough credit. I mean, I'm going back to Drive, even a movie that
Yeah, I mean, he can play serious. He can. I mean, the guy can do pretty much everything you can ask an actor to do. And I think a lot of people might be surprised about his comedic chops, but he's really shown them over the last several years. But yeah, I mean, going back to Drive and Blade Runner 2049, like when he needs to be serious or monotone or whatever he needs to do, he can bring it. And you're right. You mentioned at the top of the show, like this is a guy that should be mentioned in the pantheon of great talented actors that are going today, because he's definitely among them.
I think he's very picky with what he does. And even going and a Shane Black action comedy with Russell Crowe he did called The Nice Guys, I think it
Right.
was.
Yes. Yeah.
I went back and revisited that last year, and it's like, why have I forgotten about this? Because it's eminently rewatchable. So,
Yeah.
props to him.
Yeah. Well, he's got 3 Oscar nominations under his belt. I can imagine at some point he's going to be holding one of those statues moving forward. Probably just a matter of time for him. But it's good to see.
Next year.
It could be. Yeah. It's good to see originality in the theater, and it's good to see that people are going to it. And I think even he mentioned that he's like, it's not up to the audiences to save Hollywood or save movie theaters. It's up to Hollywood to do it. And
you put out a good movie, people show up.
Right. And, and obviously people have showed up for this, and I think the marketing was great. And, you wonder if Amazon might give this a little bit more legs in the theater because it's doing well. And obviously they don't probably need to worry so much about whether or not it's making a film profit for them, because they're Amazon and they have trillions of dollars to just do whatever they want. So, but it's nice to see that there's an investment into a original movie, and it's just good to see that it's done well, like Sinners did last year around this time, where people are going to the movies. And I think it shows that there's an appetite for good work.
And maybe this, for Amazon, MGM Studios, validates Amazon's gamble to buy that studio. Maybe it validates that they do more. Give you some perspective. I got Sony's release list for the summer. They've got 3 films on it. And maybe, even if they're not doing massive amounts of releases, they realize that if you do quality stuff, people will do what they did this past weekend. You work with the right people, and it's going to make its money back, I'm sure, and turn a profit. Now, will it drive subscribers? I don't know. They shouldn't need it, considering they just jacked up my no ads price. But
Yes. Yeah, that is true. But yeah, I mean, it's a success story, much like Sinners was around the springtime last year, and it's good to see that movies can be original. They don't have to have some kind of IP attachment or sequel or prequel or whatever. And I know we hammer that point home quite a bit, but it's just refreshing when you get to see, and not only that, but like Sinners and this, movies that actually are good too. Like they're not just original, like we've seen before, but they're actually like good movies. They're actually movies that people go back and see, and that's how they get that nice box office bump week after week, because people say, hey, I'm going to go to the best movie that I think's out this week, and it might be Sinners, or it might be Project Hail Mary for a few weeks, and they might just keep going because they enjoyed it so much. And you can't argue with that. So I'm glad to see. I'm glad that you liked it. I can't wait to see it, but I've got to hold out as much as I can for 70 millimeter. Just trying to find some times where I don't have to sit in the very front row and look at the screen and break my neck doing it.
Is it really doing that well in 70 millimeter down there?
Yeah, I can tell you that a week before the Friday screenings, the entire middle section was done. Like you could not get anything in the middle. and really anything even on the ancillary outside, like you'd have to go extreme left or right or down in the front. It was, and even some of the front was taken up. Like it was just, and that was days. Like I even thought, well, hey, what about Monday night or something? Monday night was still full. I mean, it was just, I don't know if it's going to continue that way or if it peters out eventually, but it was loaded with just no good seats available. And you want to be in the middle for a 70 millimeter because of how big the screen is, and you want to be a little higher up, I think, too, so you can look sort of eye level with the middle of the screen because it's so big.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know that some people might be staying in if they don't see Project Hail Mary, looking for something to binge. Daredevil Born Again is back. Obviously, Daredevil has had a long history here on TV or streaming, at least with Netflix. 11 years ago it came out. Disney now has revived it. Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus. I know that you enjoyed the first season. It's back again for season 2. What do you think about season 2?
Season 2 is better than season 1, and I probably should have been more generous with my grade.
Okay.
I noted in my review that season 1 was more of a predictor. It was filmed before the 2024 presidential election. And I'm sorry for those who might be offended about politics or whatever. The series is political, period. Right. It's about the rise of an authoritarian, period, in New York City. At any rate, it seemed to be predicting what would happen if a certain somebody was elected in 2024. It was filmed well before that election. Now we're dealing with what happened, the aftermath of that person being elected and his campaign against vigilantes in New York City, lack of due process, because they've had significant amounts of time to see what happens in the interim with the current administration. So they use that for source material. They run with it. They raise some, and by this I'm saying the filmmakers, and I don't have their names off the top of my head. They raise some serious issues, point out a lot of what's wrong with. Let's face it, New York City here is a stand-in for America. A lot of what's wrong with America, and the inability to muster by a lot of the population any semblance of independent thought. It's like a certain segment of the population has become a bunch of lemmings. And they confront that head on. And what I really liked about the story of Matt Murdock, Daredevil, his girlfriend, she becomes his girlfriend after years of flirtation, Karen Page, is now in the first season, Daredevil took off the mask because he started to become someone he vowed never to be, which was the vigilante he's been accused of being, the violent, the kind of vigilante that seeks retribution. He eventually came back in season 1, and it was interesting because Karen tried to make him see the error of his ways. Now it's flipped this time around, as she's looking for some measure of revenge, as she sees what happened to their mutual colleague in season 1, and then what's continuing to happen in the city she loves in New York City. Raises great questions, makes you think about what's going on now. Charlie Cox has always been comfortable in the cowl.
Right.
Deborah Ann Woll, greatest Karen Page. Vincent D'Onofrio should be nominated for an Emmy as Kingpin. Someone I follow said point blank that if he isn't come Emmy time, it shows the old guard's disdain for comic book sourced material.
Right.
And I agree. Vincent D'Onofrio is that good here. I mean, he's a tragic character in some sense. It's a nuanced character, but he's clearly evil. And what I really appreciate about it is the, and I'm not going to give it away, just say you can't binge it. All the episodes aren't on yet.
Right.
I think they, excuse me, premiered with 2 last night. And they're dropping weekly after that. The ending will seem familiar, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I gave it a B plus. I probably should revisit it and go back and give it an A minus, but it's well worth your time. This is what we used to call back in the day must see TV.
That's
Period.
great. Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, there's always something available, and obviously, there was a lot of intrigue about what Disney would do with the Daredevil character. Would they reboot and recast? And it's kind of refreshing that they didn't do that. With D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox, they could have easily had said, well, we want more of a cinematic character maybe to play that role, but they decided to kind of migrate them over. And obviously D'Onofrio is a well-established film star, but certainly Charlie Cox is not in that same vein. But it's good that they were able to kind of migrate that over and not just kind of repurpose it, but it seems like they've kind of pushed things forward and also tonally kept it very gristly, like the Netflix series was. And really, even the film version of Daredevil was hokey in a lot of ways, but at that time, that's kind of when comic books were still in that, not taken so seriously. But I also think that if you look at some of the darkness of Daredevil, the movie from 2003, it was still a little darker than maybe a lot of like the Spider-Mans of the world or even X-Men of the world at that time were. So, that character has always kind of been a little bit more dark and,
Oh yeah. Well,
and it's refreshing to have that too.
You mentioned the grisliness of the Netflix series. I will say this. The blood doesn't fly as much here. It's still TVMA, but it's toned down to a notch, maybe a notch and a half with that in that respect. It's
Right.
not violence for the sake of violence.
Sure.
It's violence in the service of story. Because Matt Murdock is very Catholic and he has a very huge conscience.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, fantastic. How many episodes have you seen of it so far?
I binged all 8.
Oh, you had all of it. Okay.
Oh,
wow.
Disney is so generous with critics. And
Well,
it only took a day and a half. So
that's good. Well, that's just a testament to how binge worthy it is. Although obviously, like you said, everybody will have to wait to binge because it's a weekly drop. So, well, I know we're a little bit behind, but we didn't have a chance to record in the aftermath of the Academy Awards from last week. Obviously, a lot of the big storyline, one battle after another, holding off Sinners maybe in their late push. Michael B. Jordan did complete the upset along the awards trail, although I guess it's not really an upset when you win the actor award and go on to win the Oscar. So any just initial thoughts before we unpack a few things? Any initial Oscar reaction that you had or while you were watching or anything that kind of stood out to you?
We'll go back to my bugaboo with what should have won in best song. And and I as a Black American, I get representation. I do. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that in K-pop Demon Hunters because that's a voice that's still not heard enough.
Right.
But like I said before, number one, the song they put forth didn't serve the movie as a way to move the narrative forward, whereas Sinners did.
Yes.
Secondly, it wasn't even the best song in K-pop Demon Hunters. There was a ballad in K-pop Demon Hunters that definitely moved the narrative forward, but they went for something that was ear candy.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yeah, the Academy's done that now a few times where it seems like they've become very, very populist in their vote for that category. obviously the song was nominated for like Song of the Year or whatever at the Grammys, and it's gotten a lot. It still gets play on the radio. I mean, we heard it today when we went to the store really quick, or 2 days ago or whatever it was. So, like, the song was just a juggernaut of popularity, and I think the Academy has lost touch with what that category should be, because you're right, the song, it doesn't need to be perfect, but the song shouldn't just be like, oh well, we'll just stick this on at the end of credits and it's an original song. Like, the song needs to serve a purpose within the context of the film. And I lied to you from Sinners. Like, what other song in the history of songs in movies did that other than Sinners? Like, did that the best? And it's just a shame that a song like that, and even the Oscar performance, like, it was so grand and rich. And it's like, how can these people not vote for that song?
Well, I'll give both performances were fantastic, but
Yeah, no, nothing against Golden. Yeah,
I just wanted to give them, but the Sinners, I Lied to You performance, they pierced that veil on the stage.
mm-hmm.
Period. I'm like, I was mesmerized all over again that they were able to pull that off on an Oscar stage. And it's like, I sat there, I knew it was coming. Ultimately, I was disappointed. I got over it. Period.
Yeah. What about casting? I think casting was the one. That award came, maybe around the halfway point, whatever, around that area. And I think that was the big telltale sign of how the rest of the night was going to go.
I think obviously, I texted you.
Yeah. Before that, Sean Penn had won, obviously. We knew Sean Penn had won, I think, before that. But that was sort of expected. But the casting, Sinners had won the precursors. Obviously, this is the first year for the Academy Awards, so no one really knows how these 11,000 members are going to vote for a category like this. Some people think of it as star power. Some people might think of, who did you discover in that casting? Are you really... Because obviously, one battle after another, Leo, Del Toro, Penn, those people are going to be cast by Paul Thomas Anderson. That's not... The casting director is not getting involved in that kind of stuff. They're getting involved with like the Chase Infinities of the world, who are being discovered as their first film. And I get like why it was such a split, because on the one hand, you had Infinity rounding out a cast of a bunch of superstars and holding her own, Tiana Taylor. But then you also had Sinners, where you had like Miles Caton, which was, he was fantastic. I actually, at my Oscar party, I said, like, I think he should have been nominated even over Delroy Lindo, because I thought he was so wonderful. But I understood why Lindo got the nomination. But it's hard, because there's a lot to like on both sides, and you just wonder, does the Academy favor the star power because, or do they favor it as best movie, best this? We're going to downvote the ballot.
I think it may have been a case of them realizing that there were at least two breakout actresses there.
Yeah.
And Miles Caton broke out in that movie, and it was a great first performance.
Yeah.
But he was surrounded even with secondary characters like, I forget the character's name, big guy. His actor's name is Omar Benson.
Omar Benson Miller, yeah.
Yeah, he's been kicking around for shit. I think he played Fat Albert, didn't he?
That was Kenan Thompson.
Kenan Thompson. But he's been kicking around forever.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of what you said before with them, the casting person there discovering new talent, and I think it's talent that's going to endure in Hollywood for a while.
Yeah, I don't think you could have gone wrong either way. I just think it was quite the curveball that the precursors were all in on Sinners, and then that's why people thought, well, if they win the ensemble cast at the Actor Awards, that's, like you said, the one week, that's the like winning Best Picture, in that awards ceremony. So I think that's why a lot of people thought, well, maybe Sinners is starting to get, elevated into that, that stratosphere of possibly winning Best Picture. But I don't know that it was ever that close, even though it might have been, like 60-40 split with the Oscar, maybe 55-45 kind of split. But I think most people just felt like you can't go wrong either way, but what movie did I think was the best? And maybe they said, look, we're going to give PTA his flowers, but it's not just like, oh, well, we're going to give him an award just because it's PTA and he deserves one. We can give him an award for a great movie.
Yeah. Yeah, he earned it. You and I have been having this conversation all along. Flip flop them. 1A, 1B, 1A, 1B. Either one of them. And ultimately, in my picks, I went with what the precursor said. DGA, PGA said one battle after another.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to ignore that at this point. Like I think if you're getting DGA and PGA, it's tough to ignore that you're because like we've talked about in the past, Anora was a movie that the Academy would probably never really sniff 10-15 years ago, or even definitely later than that. And it wins DGA, PGA, and everybody thought, well, maybe The Brutalist will still hang on. And it's like, no, it's done. It's over with. Major precursors like that. Michael B. Jordan wins a major precursor and gets the win in Best Actor. I was surprised. I think in other years, a movie like Marty Supreme would have done way better at this ceremony. It just was released in a rotten year for it because you're going up against One Battle and Sinners. Were you surprised that Marty Supreme went 0 for 9? I'm not surprised they went 0 for 9 because the categories they were in, they just weren't favored in, with the exception of, Timothée Chalamet up until the very end. But are you kind of surprised that movie just got lost in the Oscar shuffle, it seemed like?
No. As great a movie as it was, if we're being real, the main character was positively obnoxious.
Yeah.
And Hollywood likes, they'll tolerate indifference, but they won't tolerate out and out obnoxiousness. And in a main category, not category, but lead actor role, I don't think they will. Not in this day and age.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I may be proven wrong in the future. I'm sure I will be. But in this instance, I think, and additionally, I think the competition was just too strong.
Yeah.
And I don't think Chalamet, if we're being honest, did himself any favors.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about his campaign, and then there was also the talk about the anti-campaign, which was Sean Penn not going to anything and not campaigning himself for an Oscar because, he already has 2. Why does he care? He just, whatever he's doing in Ukraine. But, there was a lot of talk that maybe Chalamet did too much during the campaign season, and that kind of cratered his chances a little bit.
On Sean Penn, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't show up for the first Oscar he won, but I'm pretty sure he showed up for the Oscar for Milk because it meant something to him. It was more than a job.
Right.
So that may have been the difference. I mean, One Battle after another, as great as it was, I mean, the movie had something to say, but it wasn't exactly personal.
Right. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. Well, I think overall, did you like the show? I mean, did you like Conan O'Brien as the host? I thought he was fine. I thought he did a nice job. Had some fun zingers of jokes, The opening was fun.
But see, I'm so old school that I still miss Billy Crystal. So that's just me.
He did make the appearance. I will say I liked what they did with the In Memoriam. I know that.
Like the bookends.
Yeah, I know that it maybe cut some of the. You're always going to cut people out of it that could or couldn't be in it, whatever. Like you're never going to appease everybody. But I like how they did it where, titans of the industry that have left us got their due a little bit extra than other people. Not that those people don't matter, but it was nice to see how they did that because there were a lot of, just acting titans that passed away in the last year. So I thought it was a really well done In Memoriam for a change.
And it wasn't tacky, and I cried on Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
Because I literally sat next to the man
Right.
and got to speak with him along with other group of reporters. I met Robert Redford, but it was a less intimate setting. It was more of a press conference setting. He shook hands
Right.
after.
Right.
So,
Right.
but Reiner I teared up on, and Redford just for what he stood for as a human being. Both of them.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It meant a lot, and they did both of them justice. They did everyone in between justice.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It was really well done. I know Jane Fonda was upset that Barbara Streisand honored Robert Redford, but it made sense because there was some singing elements to it. So yeah, they only were in one movie together, but that doesn't mean they weren't friends out off screen or whatever. And also, they had Barbara Streisand sing, which is kind of why you get Barbara Streisand for that, right? I mean,
Who else gets to call Barbara Streisand Babs?
right. Well, apparently she's not a fan of it in general, but
Robert Redford got to call her Babs.
right? But he did, yeah. All right. Well, putting a bow on it, I got 20 out of 24 categories right on my Oscar picks.
Did you run away with it?
I won by two. I won by 2 points, if you will. But I was helped out by the tie in what was it, the short live action short or anime live action. So the tie helped me there because initially I thought, oh, I'm done. But how do you tie when you have upwards of, now I understand that not every 11,000 member of the Academy is voting on live action short or animation movie, but like, how do you tie with that many people that could be voting? That's just, I know it's happened before, but still.
Maybe it's ranked choice and there are points assigned.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can think of.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts from the Oscars? And then also maybe what do you have coming up next week or in the coming weeks?
On the Oscars, I think it was well done. It's disappointing to know that it's weird to me that the ratings were down.
Yeah, especially with some of the, I mean, obviously, a Minecraft movie is not going to get into Best Picture, but I don't know. I figured there was a lot of steam going into that awards ceremony. So the fact that they were down, ratings wise was a little strange, but a lot of people just kind of avoid the award shows these days anyway, or just look at after the fact so they don't have to sit through 3 hours and 50 minutes of, people, celebrating movies that maybe they haven't seen.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I thought it was pretty tight. So, I don't get it, but you and I are both film geeks. So,
Yeah.
I kind of, even though I was pooped after a long weekend, I kind of still live for Oscar night because I was able to muster up when Michael B. Jordan actually won.
Yeah. And I am happy to announce that the Oscar inspired food dish that we brought, which was Marty's Supreme Cake Pop ping pong balls, went over pretty well with the crowd, so they enjoyed them.
Very nice. Very nice.
We stayed up very late making them the night before, but we got them done, so we were happy.
I had Raisinets, and that was pretty much it. Like I said, we were pooped for my mother's 81st birthday party, so.
Yeah, no, I get that. What do you have coming up on the horizon? I know not much film-wise coming out here in the next week or so, but what do you have coming up?
Oh boy, a Super Mario's Brother movie is coming out, I think, next week.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. And
well, yeah.
The thing I know that has going for it right now is brevity. It's an hour and 36 minutes, and the screening starts at 7 on Monday. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
The second season of Your Friends and Neighbors.
Okay.
You have Apple TV, right?
I do.
Did you ever catch up with that?
I have not. No, Apple TV. I don't know. I always push it to the side unless it's like Ted Lasso or The Studio. But I know that they
need to stop doing that.
I know. We've got so many other things though that you got to catch up on or whatever. And then by the time you think about it, Apple TV is kind of out of sight, out of mind at times.
I get it, but yeah, Your Friends and Neighbors season 2. I started that today, and I'm through 5 episodes.
Okay.
it's on par with season one because they're doing something absolutely different.
Okay. All right.
I'm gonna check out Scarpetta tomorrow. I'm not sure I can know how to buy Nicole Kidman as a forensic anthropologist or forensic.
And that was shot locally, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they shot that in Middle Tennessee. So, you
would know better than I. And one thing I would recommend that people check out, especially Peaky Blinders fans.
Yeah.
Peaky Blinders: The Immortal Man.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is the movie they promised, they delivered on. Cillian Murphy is back.
Mm-hmm.
And what's smart about it is you don't have to. I have not seen Peaky Blinders the series. I always heard about it, and Netflix bias back in the day, I ignored it.
Okay,
you're smart about it. They drop you in the film with a little background, and you got it, and it goes forward, and it's good stuff. But other than that, it's slim pickings, but it's going to pick up soon because summer movie season, as Super Mario Brothers will tell you, is right around the corner.
Yes, it is, and I can't wait to not see Super Mario Brothers.
But, you'll be there in 70 millimeter and Dolby.
I will. I wouldn't go there. I wouldn't go to 70 millimeter if they gave me a ticket to go see Super Mario Brothers. I was not a fan of the first one.
You actually saw that?
Well, we saw it on Peacock. I mean, but it was funny because I remember they're like, oh, this is going to be like a Mario with like Chris Pratt doing something unique or whatever for the voice, and then it was just Chris Pratt's voice. Like I remember them like selling it like, oh, it's not going to be, the derogatory, stereotype. And they're like, oh, you're gonna really love what Chris Pratt does with the voice. And then everybody was like, oh, I can't wait to hear it. And then the trailer started dropping, and they're like, it's just Chris Pratt talking. Like, what did he do other than just talk? So, I mean, it's colorful. It's got a little bit of merit there, but yeah, I did not like. And Jack Black is, usually pretty fun, but sometimes his shtick kind of wears thin too in movies like that where they have him go like 211 in his over the topness. But gotta throw a Rob Reiner reference in there with Spinal Tap. But yeah, I'm not. I'm sure my wife would want to see it, but not super interested in Super Mario Brothers.
I get it.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Well, as always, we appreciate you stopping by. You can read everything that George reviews and watch his reviews at beaconjournal.com. George, I know you're going to be excited for Mario. Are you gonna dress in costume for the movie? Are you gonna?
No, I never do anything of the sort. I mean, I'm going to a Cleveland Cavaliers game Friday. Tickets I paid for, not on a press pass or anything.
Yeah,
I'm planning to go down in the press room. I'm going as a quote-unquote fan. I won't even be in Cavs gear. Okay. That's how damn it I am about that.
Period. Keep it professional. I like it.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, my friend. We will talk to you very soon. Have fun watching at the movies and also watching at home. We will talk to you again next week.
All righty.